What is going on, online fitness coaches? It's your mentor, B Mark Fit, coming at you with the number 2 episode of the Change Lives, Make Money Online Trainer podcast. This is a podcast for online fitness coaches who are growing businesses. I actually don't have anything to say right now. I forgot what I was going to say. So I came on this podcast because I did want to share something with you guys, but I got to be completely honest with you. I didn't have anything written before the podcast. So there's nothing that I can really say right now because there's nothing to say because I forgot to write some stuff down. I do want to talk about perfectionism. Though, because for those of you guys that are building online fitness businesses, I think that a lot of you struggle with getting on live because you're afraid that you're going to make mistakes, right? You're afraid that when people tune into you live, that you're going to completely botch it, maybe forget what you're going to say. Maybe there's some of you guys right now in your fitness business where you're starting to see some success and you're starting to see some growth and you're starting to see some progress. And you're getting to a point right now in your business where all of the success that you're getting is starting to scare you. Because when you start succeeding, what ends up happening is you start thinking about all the things that you have to lose now. It's almost like when you first start building your business, how things start to you're making progress, you're building momentum, you're getting yourself in a good place. But then once you start to realize how successful you are, it's almost like now you've got something to lose, right? Now you've got something to lose. At first, it was fun because you were building a business and you were getting everything up and running. But now you feel like you've got something to lose. And so I came on this podcast and I completely botched the start of it on purpose. And the reason I botched the start of it is because I want you guys to know that it doesn't matter how many times you fail. It really doesn't. I purposely didn't write a single thing down for this podcast. And I purposely screwed up the entire intro to show you guys that it does not matter how many times you fail. This is what counts, right? This is what matters. What matters is that you just never quit. So here we are. We're 2 minutes into the episode, and I finally got to the point. It took me a little bit because I botched the intro and I didn't have anything written down. But I'm serious. Now let's get into it. Guys, a lot of you guys are afraid of getting on live or even just putting yourself out there or going to the next level because you're afraid of what happens if you fail. And you're afraid that you've got something to lose. And this one is actually specifically for those people that are shifting to a new level in their business. And so Austin is in the mastermind right now, and he's starting to see some serious progress. Austin has been one of the standout students in the 10K mastermind. And he came from when he first started the mastermind program, it's almost like he was one of the underdogs, right? He was one of the people that, I don't think a lot of people were expecting to see the progress that's Austin seen in the mastermind as fast as he did. So now I think that what used to drive Austin was this feeling of being the underdog. And he's oh, I got something to prove. But now that he's starting to crush it, now he feels like he has something to lose. And so I literally said to Austin, I'm what's the absolute worst possible thing that could happen? In this, because we're running a challenge. I'm what's the worst thing that could happen? And he's I completely botched the live. I mess up the entire live and I say the wrong things and, people tune in and I screw it up and I screw up. I'm so what happens if you completely botch it? I'm what? If you completely screw up and totally botch the live stream, what happens then? He's well, I failed the challenge. I'm okay, if you fail the challenge, I'm are you going to quit? Are you a quitter? He's no. I'm if you fail the challenge, do you think you'll be able to pick yourself back up once it's done? He's yes. I'm then what the fuck are you afraid of? What are we afraid of? We're afraid of success because we've got something to lose. But if we fail, then what? You just try again. And so I came into the start of this podcast with literally nothing to say, nothing to say. Just didn't have any notes written down. And I purposely botched the intro and I did it for a purpose. And that purpose was to remind you guys that it's as long as you never quit, you can't fail. I actually believe that I'm destined for success because the only way that I'm going to stop trying is if I die. I'll be in the ground, perished, passed away, deceased, RIP. until that day comes where I'm RIP, let's just pray that it's like 80 years from now, knock on wood. I will never, ever, ever quit, ever. And guys, in my life, there's been a lot of failures in my life. I'll be fully transparent. Like one of my clients, Fatty, asked me a DM that I should send a prospect to book a call. And I knew the exact thing of like what to say. And he's like, bro, how do you know exactly what to say to clients when to book calls? I'm like, bro, I've made a ton of mistakes, like a ton of mistakes, so many mistakes that I've made. And through all of those mistakes, I always learned. There was always a lesson. There was always something that I was able to take away from these things that made me a better person. And so every single time that I went on live and I screwed it up, which by the way, if you guys want to see a laugh, go watch some of my daily Bs. They're hilarious. They're still on my Facebook. But for me, like every time I screwed up my live streams, or every time I screwed up on a post, or I didn't run a challenge the way that I thought I should, I always learned something from that challenge. Funny story. When I was running Aesthetic Nation, I ran a free challenge, and it was, I ran it with Facebook ads, and I got 625 people in the free challenge, and I converted 2 of them. 2 out of 600. I literally thought I was going to get rich. I was like, yo, I got 625 people. This is going to pop off. I converted 2 out of 625 people. And so I completely failed. And if I would have taken that failure as a sign that I'm not good enough or qualified or talented, then I wouldn't be here on this podcast talking to you and screwing the whole thing up, right? So here's the lesson for today. All right, here's the lesson, and this was a little bit of a goofier one, and I actually got like excited before this podcast because I was like, I have no idea what I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna go live and screw it up. But the point is this, you guys. Like, I think that it's way less about worrying that you're gonna get it wrong. Like it's way less about, having everything just lined up step by step, and like executing perfectly, and you just having this flawless business. And it's way more about like who you are as a person. Like for me, I will literally never, ever, 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 ever throw in the towel, ever. I might get beat up and I might like run free challenges that have 625 people and I convert 2 of them. I might make a post on Instagram that completely flops and, I thought it was a genius idea and it just didn't turn out to be a genius. Like that'll happen. That has happened. I might get on live and completely forget what I was saying and screw up right in the middle of it and have to cut out the live stream. That's happened. I might get on a live stream and then Facebook just decides to boot me off the live in the middle of it. And I lose like all the traction that I had from that live stream just because Facebook decided to kick me out. But I will never, ever, ever quit. And so the lesson here, you guys, is like, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to screw up. And for those of you guys that struggle with anxiety, that are like feeling like you have to have everything in order or like nothing can go wrong. And what if this goes wrong and this goes wrong and this goes wrong? Like, this is what I do. I'm not joking. I imagine the worst possible case scenario. So that's why I told Austin, I'm like, I want you to imagine this challenge completely flopping and failing and having 0 people sign up. And then I ask myself the question, like, if that happened, would I be able to handle it? Like, would I be able to deal with it? Of course I would. And if I'm able to handle the worst possible scenario from the outcome that I'm like the most afraid of, then why am I overthinking it? Like, maybe I'm going to fail. Maybe I'm not, but I don't even know because I haven't done it yet. So all I have to do is try. And in trying, there's going to be some mistakes. And that's completely okay because for me, I'm just the type of person that's never, ever, 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 ever going to quit. So this podcast is coming at you guys with absolutely 0 script. And I completely screwed the whole thing up. And I did it for you guys. Like I wanted to show you that you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all together. There is 25,000 people that download my podcast per month, and they're all going to hear the podcast that I botched the intro. But that's the point. Like, that's the point. Because guess what? Monday's episode is going to be hot as fuck because it always is. So is Tuesday, so is Wednesday, so is Thursday, so is Fridays. And I'm going to remember my intro this time. So the lesson here, you guys, is it doesn't matter how many times you screw up. The only thing that matters is if you decide to throw in the towel. And so for me, that's just not an option. That's just not on the table. And Austin, this one's for you, bro. I know that you're not a quitter and I know that you're never going to quit either. So no matter what happens, if you sign 0 people from the challenge or you sign 50, you're going to grow as an entrepreneur and you're going to get better because of the challenge. And that's something that I know for a fact. So that's it. That's all. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the Change Lives Make Money Online Training Podcast, the number 2 or 3 or 4th show for online fitness coaches who are trying to grow a successful online business. If you got value from this episode where I made a complete and total idiot of myself, I would love if you gave me a review. Just give me a review and give me like a star rating that deserves the quality of my screw up. No, I'm just joking. But seriously, guys, I appreciate you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you got some value. I hope you have the best day of your entire life since your mom had you. And I will talk to you on the next episode of the podcast. Peace.